Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And a funny little story today. It's about identity politics, and it's about a woman who has for many years identified as one thing, when in reality she's another thing. Now, normally this would be the sort of thing which would be hypocritical and people would complain. And indeed, people are complaining. And yet there's a kind of perversity to that complaint, because if a man suddenly says he wants to identify as a woman, everyone is supposed to find that completely normal and find it acceptable and to go along with his self-delusion. This man would be deluding himself that he's a woman, but we're all supposed to pretend he's a woman. That's okay, that's fine, there we are. That's what they insist. That's what the wokey left insists. So you can identify as something that you're not, and that's acceptable, if it's to do with what is in the contents of your pants. However, if you are, let us say, a white woman of German, Swedish and French Canadian origin, apparently it's not acceptable to identify as a Native American, indigenous person. Why? Why is this wrong? Who knows? But we're going to have a look at this article about a woman who identifies as one thing when she is not that thing. And everybody's complaining. Here we go. So here we are. The co-founder of Queer Indigenous Artists Collective in Wisconsin is unmasked as a white woman. Well, unmasked is a bit strong. She wasn't wearing a mask. She's been revealed, shall we say, as a white woman after claiming she was a Native American and two-spirit. Oh, God, a two-spirit, right? So I guarantee she's going to be a they, isn't she? Kay Leclerc, who went by, blimey, Nibiwakamigwi, I think that's how you pronounce it, has claimed to be Native American. But hobby genealogist Advanced Smite posted research on an online forum claiming that Leclerc has been profiting from indigenous peoples. They, of course, she, I'm not saying they, she has since released a statement saying that she is not using the Ojibwe name given to her and she is removing herself from all positions and projects. Not what they've written now, I'm not saying the they, thems, because it's a load of old crap. She is just mentally ill, right? Advanced Mike claimed that she used, or he or she, used online records and resources to find Leclerc's true lineage, which was German, Swedish and French Canadian. And yet she wants to claim that she's indigenous, presumably for, the moolah, make the money. Oh, look at me, I'm special, give me some money. That's exactly what this is. These are people who generally do this, who have, they've got zero talent and zero self-confidence and self-worth. They are ashamed of who they are. They are full of self-loathing. And so they pretend to be someone else. It's the same as these men pretending to be women. They're not very good as men. They're failures as men. But they think, well, I'm a failure as a man. Maybe if I'm a woman, I might make something of myself. Yeah, a fucking spectacle. But anyway, we'll go into this. The co-founder of a queer indigenous artist collective in Wisconsin, who has claimed to be Native American, is being accused of being a white woman and has since stepped down from her community positions. At least the Daily Mail is using the term her. Kay Leclerc, who also went by the name Nibiwakamigwi, that's rolling off the tongue now, isn't it? Also identifies as two-spirit, which is a term many indigenous people use to describe a non-binary gender identity. Sorry, love, you are not non-binary, you're a woman. Leclerc has allegedly been profiting from the identities of indigenous peoples, according to the hobbyist genealogist Advanced Smite, as reported, blah, blah, blah. She's claimed Metis, Oneida, Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Cuban and Jewish heritage. I'm going to presume that the first four there are tribal identifiers from the various parts of America where indigenous Americans still live. But Advanced might reportedly use online records and resources to find Leclerc's true lineage, which I've mentioned is German, Swedish and French Canadian. And there she is doing, I suppose red face would be the term, isn't it? Pretending to be something she's not. Look, it's little... I tell you what, it's little more. She's actually doing little more than the childhood game of cowboys and Indians, and I don't mean that in any kind of disrespectful way. That's just what you call it when you're a child. She is doing cowboys and Indians. She is the squaw in a childish game. And I think it's not only offensive. Personally, I think it's offensive because of what it is. But then I don't care if that's what she wants to identify as, because I know it will really annoy the left. It's like they say, oh, you can be whatever you identify as, so long as you don't identify as the things we don't want you to identify as. The hypocrisy is strong in these people. Anyway, over the last few years, Leclerc, who's a member and co-owner of the Artist Collective, has earned several artist stipends, a paid residency at the University of Wisconsin, a place on the Missing and Ended Indigenous Women Task Force, and many speaking gigs and art exhibitions, it was reported. And Leclerc refused to answer questions, but provided a statement. She said, "I am sorry," she wrote. "A lot of information has come to my attention since late December, and I'm still processing it all, and I do not yet know how to respond adequately. What I can do now is offer change, or fire yourself and piss off, you lying liar." But I don't care. I don't care. If she wants to dress up and be that, that's fine. Let her do it. But let her say she's dressing up like this because she admires that culture and wants to be absorbed into that culture. That's no different from somebody who isn't of that culture. Say, let's just say something random. Now, I'm going to pick something random up. Let us say, for example, I move to Japan tomorrow. I will never be Japanese, but I can love their culture. I can love their food. I can love their history. And in doing so, if I was then to behave like a Japanese person, show the necessary sort of forms of respect to the elder, to your betters and that sort of thing, if I was to learn the language, if I was to adopt the culture, I will never ever be Japanese. They know I'm not Japanese, but I'm identifying as Japanese, kind of thing. I'm paying respect to the culture. She's not doing that. She is not saying, yes, of course, I'm a white European woman, but I love your culture so much, I want to come and live in your culture. I want to learn your culture. I want to be part of your culture. She's not doing that. She's going, if I just steal your culture, I can make a buck. And that's what's wrong. But that's a different argument for a different day. What we're looking at here is why these people are complaining. Because if Kay Leclerc said all of a sudden, actually, I want to be a man now, they'd all be going, oh, stunning and brave, stunning and brave. But because she's going, I want to be Native American now, it's, no, that's racist, that's wrong, you can't do that. And that is where the hypocrisy lies. And that's what makes me laugh. Anyway, there she is, without her red face on. So, it doesn't look particularly sort of Navajo or anything like that. Blackfoot, Apache. Hasn't got Apache on me. Boom, boom. But it doesn't look at all like an indigenous American. Looks kind of Swedish, I'm going to say. The blue of the eyes. She has got that very much a European look, I'm going to say. But then that's it. And that's who she is. Now, like I say, she can pretend to be who she is, or she can pretend to be anyone she wants. But is it acceptable? It seems to be acceptable if you wanted to pretend to be a man, but it wouldn't be acceptable if you wanted to pretend to be a Native American man. So you make your, you make your choice, pays your money, and I don't know what to say about it really. I mean, she's obviously mentally ill, or just completely devoid of any kind of common sense, I think. But anyway, I'm going to round off there and come up. But it is just it's just funny that one thing is acceptable and another thing isn't. Anyway, here we go. So, just to be clear, if you're a man who wants to identify as a woman, that's perfectly acceptable. If you're a woman who wants to identify as a man, that too is perfectly acceptable. But if you're white and want to identify as non-white, that's not acceptable. I would like to know if it's acceptable for a non-white to identify as white. That would be an interesting case. Or would that be problematic? Because if a white person pretending to be non-white is then open to criticism, and it's supposed to be acceptable to be criticised for that, as this woman is, but that criticism is not seen as racism. And yet if a black person said, no, I'm white now, and white people criticised that and said, oh, no, you're not white, you're not white, that would be seen as racism. So the hypocrisy that's being shown on this is absolutely immense. And unfortunately, it seems to be the world we're living in, that everything is unequal. You can be accepted on certain characteristics, but not accepted on other characteristics. And it's acceptable for some people to be criticised for one thing, but other people cannot be criticised for the same thing, because if they are criticised, then that's racism. And so so if a white person does this thing, it's racist. But if a white person criticises a non-white person for doing it, that's also racism. It's a very, very strange set of rules, and I'd like to know where they're written down. Personally, I don't care. Don't care who you are, what you are, or anything like that. My concerns are for safety. So I don't want to see a man pretending to be a woman in a woman's changing room. That's nothing to do with the feelings of the man pretending to be a woman, but everything to do with the safety of women and children. Be who you are. Don't care. Do not care. Dress how you like. Be who you are. Your problems, not mine. Accept me. I accept you. That's the rules. Just don't put men in women's only safe spaces for obvious reasons. But if someone wants to identify as something else, why not? Why not? Be fun, wouldn't it? I could go to work tomorrow, dress up, in strange fancy dress or whatever, say, no, I identify as this now. And my employer would have no option but to allow it, I think. It's a strange world, because they bring in these laws, and, you get your equality laws brought in. And it doesn't half make for interesting games if you want to play them. But then, of course, play silly games, win silly prizes. But anyway, I shall round off there. If you like what you hear and see on the channel, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Ring the bell for notifications of future output. Leave a like, leave a comment. Please share the video. And definitely do hit that subscribe button. I want to build those numbers up throughout this year. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, be you, and goodbye.